everyone, welcome to my presentation on Switzerland and Liechtenstein. Sorry about the misinformation on the poster. My name is William Cooper. I'm the grandson of Frida Cooper, who's an Amica resident that passed away on July 7th of 2023. I miss her, but I'm making my monthly presentations at Amica in her honor. We're continuing our travels to Afro-Eurasia. It covers 57% of the world's land area, but has 86% of its population. We began in the Middle East, then we went to Southern Asia, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, East Asia, North Asia and Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and today we again continue our travels to Western Europe with Switzerland and Liechtenstein. And next month, we again continue our travels to Western Europe as we're visiting Spain and Portugal and their respective empires. I hope to see you again on March 29th. Before we start, here's a quick overview of Switzerland. Switzerland's long and intricate history has shaped a nation that values democracy, cultural diversity, and especially neutrality. From its old Roman roots to modern times, Switzerland has cultivated a unique national identity by a blend of tradition and innovation. As it navigates contemporary challenges, Switzerland remains anchored in its rich cultural heritage, embracing both its past and future, and serving as an example of an almost utopia. Now let's begin. Today's presentation has 5 sections. Section 1, Pre-Confederation. So as we all know, the Roman Empire began in 27 BC, but in 395 AD, it split into the East and West. The East eventually became the Ottoman Empire in 1453, and the Western Roman Empire fell in 467 by Germanic tribes, and in 800 it became the Holy Roman Empire. Switzerland was conquered under the Romans from 58 BC to 51 BC under Julius Caesar, and the new Roman culture and laws significantly shaped the region's socio-economics. Following Roman decline, the region experienced Germanic invasions from the Alemanni and Burgundian tribes. By the 9th century, Charlemagne had unified most of Western Europe under his empire, and this included Switzerland. After Charlemagne's death, the region became a part of the Holy Roman Empire. In the late 13th century, there were numerous Habsburg threats. Fun fact, Habsburg is a name derived from a famous castle in Switzerland. The Habsburgs tried to expand their power into Central Europe, threatening Swiss independence. Because of this, a series of Swiss regions, known as cantons, unified because they wanted to protect themselves from outsiders, and this happened in 1291. Now we have the Old Swiss Confederacy, which is what this unification led to. So the cantons or regions of Uri, Schweiz, and Unterwalden formed the Eternal Alliance, this confederacy, to try to protect their autonomy. However, it was still part of the Holy Roman Empire. It just received more autonomy and self-independence. In the 15th century, it began to expand even more, conquering regions and city-states like Lucerne, Zurich, and Bern, as well as cantons like Glarus and Zug, and this really strengthened the region. Here we have a map of what this confederation looked like on top of Switzerland's modern borders. Now we can see the country had began to form. In the 15th century, there were even more tensions with Austria because the Habsburgs still wanted more power. The Habsburgs saw the Swiss as a threat to their control of Central Europe. So Austria had to make numerous attempts to regain control of the region. And these threats, again, unified the cantons even more, fostering more cooperation and unity. One of these conflicts was the Swabian War in 1499, where the Swiss had to defend themselves against the Austrians and the Austrian allies. Surprisingly, they won, and this was a major upset. The Swiss achieved significant victories, leading to the Treaty of Basel, granting the Swiss greater autonomy and de facto independence from the Holy Roman Empire. One of the greatest things they could have ever been granted, because it allowed them to foster a new national spirit and identity. In the 16th century, the Swiss faced even more challenges due to the Protestant Reformation led by leaders like Martin Luther, who we see here on the right. Because it caused numerous divisions, because Switzerland was made up of numerous Protestant and Catholic cantons, causing a lot of civil conflict, such as the Wars of Capelle. And the Catholic cantons were very successful in their upholding Catholicism in the country. The 30 Years' War happened from 1618 to 1635, and it happened because of even more religious tensions inside of the Holy Roman Empire. Remember, Switzerland had de facto independence, however, it was still part of the HRE. Although Switzerland stayed neutral, allowing the cantons to remain stable while the rest of Central Europe was burning around them. One of the themes throughout this presentation will be how Switzerland always stayed neutral despite everything going around in the world. And this war led to the Treaty of Westphalia, one of the most significant treaties in Central Europe, because it recognized formally Switzerland's independence from the Holy Roman Empire. And this again happened because of the power struggles in the 30 Years' War and because of Switzerland's neutrality, allowing Switzerland to now manage its own foreign relations and cultivate a new national identity. Now we have the Napoleonic era, and I talk about this because in 1798, Napoleon invades Switzerland, and he created the Helvetic Republic as he conquered most of the cantons. He tried unifying Switzerland under a more centralized government style. However, he failed miserably. His failures highlighted the desire for a more federated government in the future, which is one of the reasons why Switzerland eventually became a federated state in 1848. In 1803, the Helvetic Republic was abolished. Napoleon left the region, and the Swiss Confederation with the cantons was restored. So after the chaotic Napoleonic Wars, the 1815 Congress of Vienna was a major turning point for Switzerland because it again re-recognized Switzerland's neutrality, independence, and autonomy. Section 3, Post-Napoleon. So in the 19th century, Switzerland had even more tensions inside of its country because, can you believe it again? Religious issues. Because in purple we have Protestant cantons, and in orange we have Catholic ones. And in the country at this time, there was a lot of civil conflict because the Catholic regions, who were often more conservative, felt marginalized by more progressive and Protestant urban centers, leading to conflicts such as the Sonderbund War in 1847, where Protestant and Catholic cantons fought each other in a civil conflict. And this again highlighted the deeper ideological divides within the country. In 1848, after the war ended, there was the creation of the Swiss federal state, turning it into a republic. A new constitution was introduced that a balanced power between local regions and the federal government, establishing a foundation for modern Switzerland and changing and encouraging national unity within the country. In 1874, there was a new constitution that promoted a more participatory government model and a new government that encouraged citizen engagement through direct democracy. Direct democracy means that instead of having people vote for representatives who in the Congress would just vote on decisions, major political moves were voted on by referendums, and later on we'll see this. Section 4, the World Wars. World War I. So as we all know, 6 causes to World War I. First, European expansionism. 2, Serbs wanting independence as well as control of Bosnia. Third, Franz Ferdinand's assassination and Russia's defense of Serbia. Fourth, the interlocking alliances that created the Central Powers and the Allies. Fifth, Germany's full support of Austria. And sixth, the German government's full support of participating in the war, allowing it to go on for much longer than it should have. In this war, again, Switzerland was neutral, so it was not directly involved in any conflict. However, although it was neutral, it still faced significant economic challenges because the Allied powers had blockaded the Central Powers, leading to shortages as well as rapid inflation. As another aspect of Switzerland's involvement in this war, it also played a key humanitarian role by being a hub for the International Red Cross, an organization which they have founded and have been a major proponent of for several decades. Post-World War I. So after World War I, there were 6 treaties signed with Germany, Austria, Bulgaria, Hungary, and the Ottomans. However, for today's presentation, we're going to talk about the Treaty of Versailles with Germany on June 28, 1919. So although Switzerland did not exactly gain any land area from this, as we can see there's no mention of Switzerland on this map, it was still heavily involved because the Treaty of Versailles reaffirmed Switzerland's neutral position in conflicts, a position that they had for over a century prior. After the war and after all these treaties, Switzerland also joined the League of Nations, as the headquarters for this organization was in Geneva, one of Switzerland's major cities. Now we have World War II, because as we all know, the world can never be peaceful. So Switzerland was again neutral in this conflict, as we talked about in World War I. They declared neutrality, and by staying neutral, the country could focus on protecting its own interests and potentially help those in need without getting directly involved, because they were still supporting the International Red Cross. Although they were neutral, there were a lot of controversies in World War II, because during the war, the Nazis had stolen billions of Swiss dollars and gold, and all this wealth was held mostly in Swiss banks. Swiss banks were chosen because, again, Switzerland was neutral, but also the banks had secrecy laws that could allow them to conceal account holders' identities and names. Another reason why the Nazis would want to put all their stolen wealth in there. By 1945, there were over 80 billion Swiss francs. Most of it was taken by the Nazis from the Jews. And many Jewish clients did not even know about accounts that they had in these banks because of their heavy secrecy rules. After World War II, Swiss banks had to return almost 2 billion marks because they had allowed the Nazis to keep stolen wealth in their banks. On September 2nd, 1945, the war had ended with the bombing of Nagasaki. Section 5, Post-World War II today. So in 1945, the UN was formed, and right now it has 193 countries. Fun fact, Switzerland only joined until 2002, and this was because of a referendum. Same exact thing goes with NATO. NATO was created in 1949, however, Switzerland only joined until 1996. In 2008, Libya severed all oil deliveries to Switzerland because they had arrested Hannibal Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi's son, on assault charges. And despite the charges being eventually dismissed, Muammar Gaddafi during this time created a plan for dividing Switzerland among France, Germany, and Italy, showing how much he hated the country for arresting his son. In 2008, Switzerland also joined Schengen, which allows for passport-free travel within other member states, which we can see on this map. And this allowed Switzerland to improve its ties with Europe while remaining neutral, because it is still not part of the European Union, as we can see on this map here, because Switzerland is listed as only being a Schengen member. From 2008 to 2009, Switzerland went through the world recession caused by the U.S.'s real estate crash. It went through it mostly in 2009, and in March of that year, Switzerland's government changed its long-standing secrecy policy with banks that we first heard of during the segment about World War II. In September of that same year, Switzerland's economy began to recover, and signs of this began to appear. Rob Armstrong asks, please tell us about Switzerland in terms of the size of its economy, population, geography, and government. So first let's talk about government. So Switzerland has a very, very interesting and intricate style of government. So Switzerland right now has 26 cantons, which are essentially regions with their own constitution and government, as they're granted more autonomy than other countries. They also have a federal council, which is their executive body, and it's comprised of 7 members. And every year, a president is chosen because that position rotates annually among the members of the council. And each member heads a federal department and serves a term of 4 years. And also did you know that there are 4 main parties in Switzerland that we're going to talk about soon, and they always have to work in coalitions because no party will ever hold a majority. We also have Switzerland's long-standing history of referendums, as we talked about with the new 1874 constitution. So as we can see, in 1986, they opposed UN membership. In 2001, they opposed joining the EU. However, in 2002, they voted in favor of joining the UN. So as we can see, when you have directive democracy, ideas can change very easily over time. So, starting in 1959, Switzerland's government created a style called the Magic Formula, which was a political agreement that created a 4-party government with the SVP, SDP, RDP, and CDPP for right or left or socialist-leaning parties, helping to reduce political extremes and reduce gridlock, allowing the government to be a more stable political environment compared to what we have in North America. Now let's talk about one of my favorite countries, Liechtenstein. So Liechtenstein's history is a little bit less intricate than this, is why it's only on one slide, and here are 5 important things that have happened in its history. In 1719, the Principality of Liechtenstein was created in the Holy Roman Empire. In 1806, the HRE was broken up, and Liechtenstein became sovereign. In 1919, after World War I had ended, it cultivated very close relations with Switzerland, and today those 2 countries are considered best friends. And in 1984, it joined the European Economic Area, which is a little bit different from the EU. So we can see Switzerland and Liechtenstein are still not part of the European Union. Now we have a snapshot of 5 countries. We have Switzerland, Liechtenstein, 4 countries. Switzerland, Liechtenstein, France, and Germany. France and Germany I chose because they are 2 of Switzerland's closest allies alongside Liechtenstein. So Liechtenstein is the 6th smallest country in the world, and that's why it has the smallest land area on this map. Population-wise, it only has 40,000 inhabitants, one of the smallest populations in the world. Switzerland's GDP, though, is surprisingly quite high, $7.4 billion, and more extraordinary, its GDP per capita is $186,000 because it has such low taxes that it's able to attract many, many millionaires and billionaires throughout Europe. Switzerland's capital is Bern, Liechtenstein's is Vaduz, France's is Paris, and Germany's is Berlin. Rob Armstrong asks, are there any super Swiss? Now, I never knew that Albert Einstein was actually Swiss. I always thought this was German. We have Henri Nestle, who created one of the largest companies in the world, Nestle, and we have Roger Federer, who is one of the best tennis players in his prime, and we have Louis Joseph Chevrolet, who co-founded Chevrolet. Believe it or not, Chevrolet is not an American company. Rob Armstrong asks, are there any fun facts? Well, yes, there are. As we already talked about, Switzerland is the world's sixth smallest country, but its GDP per capita is so high because of its low taxes. Did you know at the 1936 Olympics, Lichtenstein and Haiti discovered that they had the same flag, a blue and red striped flag. Haiti added its national crest in the middle, and Liechtenstein added their yellow royal crown because it was a monarchy. Switzerland has an incredibly high cost of life, but an incredibly high quality of life. It has the third highest quality of life in the world because of its robust healthcare system, excellent education, low crime rates, and very strong economy. However, the cost of living is especially high in Zurich and in Geneva, which are two of its largest cities, because so many products will be very expensive. Switzerland speaks 4 major languages. They are German, which is spoken by around 62% of the country, French, which is 23%, Italian, which is 8%, and Romansh, which is 0.5%. As we can see on this map, we have Swiss French, mostly in the regions that border France. Same thing with German, Romansh, and Italian. Here we have a map just to show this too, so that as we can see, Switzerland is right over there, and Liechtenstein is the tiny little dot right next to it, because it is the 6th smallest country, and they border France, Italy, Luxembourg, and Germany. Switzerland is also known as the capital of watchmaking because it's home to Rolex and Patek Philippe. Switzerland is also known for its incredible chocolate. I especially love Lindt, Pentel, Rome, but honestly, any chocolate is excellent. Switzerland is also known for its cheese and chocolate fondue because it is known for its excellent chocolates and excellent cheese. Switzerland is also known for its awesome terrains, and they're often found in these beautiful picturesque landscapes. One of the areas where they're found are the Swiss Alps, which are a large mountain range in Switzerland known for their stunning beauty. Switzerland also has conscription for men for about 18 to 21 weeks. However, for women, it is voluntary. Did you know that 25% of Switzerland's population is foreign? It attracts many immigrants because it is known as a very innovative, strong, and just overall amazing country. Switzerland is also one of the most innovative countries. It's been ranked consecutively the most innovative country in the world for 8 times. And also, as it is home to Albert Einstein, they created the formula E equals mc squared. Switzerland is also the least obese European country. Only 18% of its population is obese, compared to Canada's 30% and the US's 1/3. Switzerland is also very prepared for nuclear war, as it has enough fallout shelters to accommodate its entire population because of regulation that say every single citizen has to have a shelter nearby. Switzerland also has the longest tunnel in the world, called the Gotthard Tunnel. I probably butchered that, and it is almost 60 kilometers long. Owning a dog in Switzerland has some rules. Switzerland is incredibly animal friendly, and dogs are allowed anywhere. However, they're often taxed based on their height and their weight in in some cantons. And also, it's that they have to be able to exercise, have daily human contact, and microchip by event. And honestly, every country should have this. Switzerland is also home to CERN, a scientific institution that studies the fundamental particles and forces that make up the universe. In 2012, they discovered the Higgs boson, which was very popular on the show Big Bang Theory. And also in 1989, they created the World Wide Web. Switzerland is also known for its very practical and versatile Swiss Army knife. Switzerland also has the Swiss Guard in the Vatican, and they're the Pope's bodyguards. They were created there in 1506 because the Pope saw them as being very high skilled and loyal. However, right now it's mostly ceremonial because I don't think anyone wants to attack the Pope. Switzerland is also home to the World Economic Forum in Davos, as was founded in 1971, and it meets annually in Switzerland. Its purpose is of promoting global cooperation on economic, social, and environmental issues. However, it has garnered lots of criticism recently because it costs tens of thousands of dollars to go there, and often the members talk more about potential business deals than actually helping the planet. But let's just watch this brief video about what it is.
Aspire is built to drive business outcomes. We help you make money and save money. And Aspire customers grow 34%.
When you think of the World Economic Forum, chances are your mind takes you here, to Davos. But WEF isn't just a yearly summit in the Alps. So what is the difference between WEF and Davos? The World Economic Forum is famous for its annual week-long meeting in Davos, Switzerland, so much so that WEF and Davos have pretty much become synonymous. The Alpine resort town normally plays host to skiing and hiking enthusiasts, but for 1 week a year, WEF invites business leaders, billionaires, heads of state, royalty, academics, journalists and celebrities to gather 5,000 feet above sea level to address the globe's most pressing challenges. But once the meetings are over, WEF packs up and returns to its headquarters 267 miles away in the suburbs of Geneva. Based there, around 600 of the international non-profit organizations, more than 800 employees. They say their mission is improving the state of the world, but with such a lofty goal, how do they attempt to achieve it? Let's start with the people behind WEF. The head of the organization is, and has always been, Klaus Schwab. Back in 1971, the then lesser-known engineer and economist brought his first meeting to Davos. Called the European Management Forum, his objective was to encourage business leaders to be accountable to everyone, not just shareholders. Since then, the list of attendees has expanded globally to include politicians, NGOs, scientists, and even religious and cultural leaders. It was renamed the World Economic Forum in 1987, and the history-making moments quickly followed. Among its biggest successes, the speech from West Germany's foreign minister in 1987, calling on the West to reach out to the Soviets, signaling the end of the Cold War. The first meeting between North and South Korea in 1989, the handshake between Nelson Mandela and former South African President de Klerk in 1992, symbolizing the end of apartheid. In 2003, Schwab left his post as a professor at the University of Geneva to focus full-time on building the forum into a recognized international organization. It worked. The forum grew from 450 participants in 1971 to more than 2,700 guests in 2023. And for a non-profit, WEF is extremely successful at generating revenue. In its 2022-2023 financial year, it earned nearly $500 million, with media company Semaphore reporting that if it were for profit, it would likely be valued at over $1 billion. Today, Schwab and the Forum are guided by a board of trustees, which is made up of influential leaders. Some trustees you've probably heard of, like Al Gore, Yo-Yo Ma, and Christine Lagarde, while others might be less familiar. The day-to-day running of the non-profit, on the other hand, is led by WEF's president, managing directors, and executive committee. With offices in major cities around the world, WEF coordinates several regional meetings and summits, focusing on everything from jobs and AI to the climate crisis. The forum also operates 10 sector-specific centers, such as the Center for Cybersecurity or the Center for Nature and Climate. Each center invites corporations, startups, and governments to get involved through related initiatives. For example, the Center for Health and Healthcare has initiatives around protecting women and girls' health, healthy workforces, and the future of personalized well-being. WEF also has sister organizations, many of which focus on young people and how they can foster social change in their communities. The Global Shaper community, for example, has 15,000 young members in 150 countries. And every year, the WEF also publishes several key reports, like the Global Gender Gap Report or the Global Risks Report, which serve as references in the academic sector for businesses and in the media. WEF has grown beyond the confines of its week in Davos, with full-time employees and initiatives that continue year-round. But ultimately, its meeting on this snowy mountain still sits at the center of it all. For example, the rapid development of COVID-19 vaccine prototypes during the pandemic was made possible after a global initiative to fight epidemics was launched at Davos in 2016. The 1T.org platform, an initiative to plant, restore, or conserve 1 trillion trees by the end of the decade, was also launched at Davos by Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff and his wife Lynn in 2020. The launch of Edison Alliance, a branch of WEF which has helped more than 450 million people access affordable digital services, followed in 2021. And while launching a worthy cause in Davos is great for exposure, it isn't always good for optics. The image of CEOs and business leaders sipping champagne in the mountains, and the billions of dollars in business deals that have come out of the event, have made some critics skeptical, to say the least.
Davos is not some secret underground cult. Next.
In an array of protests, tribunes, and speeches, WEF and Davos are often dubbed as an echo chamber for the elite. They say it lacks financial transparency and holds too much influence for an unelected body. And despite promoting a better world, it is still fairly unequal. Amongst the issues, the disproportionate number of Americans attending the event, usually making up a quarter of attendees. And despite some progress, men still outnumber women at the event by at least 3-1. Plus, it's just plain expensive to attend. A member of the private sector must shell out tens of thousands of dollars for membership and a ticket to the exclusive event. In 2023, participation fees contributed nearly 38 million Swiss francs to the organization's revenues, money which WEF says funds the foundation. The climate activists argue that the cost to attend Davos is nothing compared to the event's cost to the environment. Of course, guests have to travel to get here, and many are still opting for private jets as their transport of choice. In the week of the annual meeting in 2022, more than 1,000 private jets flew into airports that served Davos. Compare that with the 2 weeks before and after the meeting, and around half that number was recorded. WEF, for its part, encourages participants to travel by train and has offset 100% of the event's emissions since 2017. On the ground, it has increased the availability of electric vehicles, uses seasonal food, as well as other sustainable measures. But it's important to note that not everyone who descends on Davos during the annual meeting has a ticket to the official event. There is far less visibility around the sustainability of the many private events surrounding it. In a world that has become accustomed to virtual gatherings, some have questioned the necessity of such large in-person events. But WEF argues that the best progress happens when you bring people together. After all, that's what made Davos, Davos.
And how do you say butterfly in Switzerland's 4 national languages? In French, it is papillon. In German, it is Schmetterling. In Italian, it is farfalla. And in Romansh, it is tigrada. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes? Are there any questions? Yeah?
That was outstanding. In Lichtenstein, why is it so very wealthy? It's finance.
Finance, because it attracts a lot of wealthy people because it's very low taxes as well. Yeah. Any other questions?
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.